Trump weighs response to Iran crackdown. Tehran says communication open with US Dubai, Jan 12, Reuters. Iran said on Monday it is keeping communications open with the US as President Donald Trump weighed responses to a deadly crackdown on nationwide protests, which pose one of the stiffest challenges to clerical rule since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Trump said on Sunday the US may meet Iranian officials and he was in contact with Iran's opposition, while piling pressure on its leaders, including threatening possible military action over lethal violence against protesters. US-based rights group Tehran said it had verified the deaths of 544 people, 496 protesters, and 48 security personnel, with 10,681 people arrested since the protests began on December 28 and spread around the country. Reuters was unable to independently verify the tallies. The flow of information from the Islamic Republic has been hampered by an internet blackout since Thursday. Iran's leaders are facing fierce demonstrations that evolved from complaints about dire economic hardships to defiant calls for the fall of the deeply entrenched clerical establishment, and with the country's regional clout much reduced. But despite the massive scale of the protests, there are no signs of splits in the Shiite clerical leadership, military or security forces, and demonstrators have no clear central leadership. The opposition is fragmented. In verified video footage, Iranians gathered at the Karizak Forensic Center in Tehran on Sunday, standing over rows of dark body bags. Iran has not given an official death toll, but blames the bloodshed on US interference and what it calls Israeli and US-backed terrorists. State-run media has focused attention on the deaths of security forces. Communication channel with US Open, Arakchi says, "The communication channel between our Foreign Minister Abbas Arakchi and the U.S. Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, is open, and messages are exchanged whenever necessary," Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghai said on Monday. Contacts also remain open through traditional intermediary Switzerland, he said. The U.S., touched upon some cases, ideas were brought up, and in general, the Islamic Republic is a country that never left the negotiating table, Baghai said. But he added that contradictory messages from the US showed a lack of seriousness and were not convincing. Arakchi reiterated in a briefing to foreign ambassadors in Tehran that the Islamic Republic was ready for war but also open to dialogue. The ambassadors of Britain, Italy, Germany and France in Tehran were summoned to the foreign ministry. Semi-official Tasnim news agency reported on Monday and asked to relay to their governments Tehran's request to withdraw their support for the protests. Iran considers any political or media support for the protests an unacceptable intervention in the internal security of the country, Tasnim added. Addressing a large crowd in Tehran's Enqilab Square on Monday, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bakir Kalibaf said Iranians were fighting a war on 4 fronts: economic war, psychological warfare, military war against the US and Israel, and today, a war against terrorism. Arakchi said on Monday that a total of 53 mosques and 180 ambulances had been set on fire since the protests erupted, adding that no Iranian would attack a mosque. CCTV footage from inside Tehran's Abuzar Mosque showed a dozen people, most wearing face masks, ransacking the structure, throwing books onto the ground and destroying furniture last week. Reuters verified the timestamp and location. State media reported that the mosque was set on fire on January 9th. Trump said on Sunday that Iran had called to negotiate on its disputed nuclear program. Israel and the US bombed Iranian nuclear sites in a 12-day war in June. Iran wants to negotiate. Yes, we might meet with them. A meeting is being set up. But we may have to act because of what is happening before the meeting, but a meeting is being set up. Iran called, they want to negotiate, he told reporters on Air Force One. Trump was to meet with senior advisors on Tuesday to discuss options for Iran, a U.S. official told Reuters. The Wall Street Journal reported that the options included military strikes, using secret cyber weapons, widening sanctions, and providing online help to anti-government sources. Striking military installations could be highly risky. Some bases of elite military and security forces may be located in heavily populated areas, so any attack ordered by Trump could inflict large civilian casualties. Parliament Speaker Kalibaf warned Washington against a miscalculation. Let us be clear, in the case of an attack on Iran, the occupied territories, Israel, as well as all US bases and ships will be our legitimate target, said Kalibaf, a former commander in Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards. However, Tehran is still recovering from last year's war, and its regional clout has been much weakened by blows to allies such as Lebanon's Hezbollah since the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. Israel also killed top Iranian military commanders in the June war. Situation under total control, Arakchi says. The protests began in response to soaring prices that have worsened daily hardships before turning against the clerical rulers who have governed for more than 45 years. Iranians have grown increasingly resentful of the powerful Revolutionary Guards, whose business interests, including oil and gas, construction, and telecommunications, are worth billions of dollars. Arakchi said on Monday the situation was under total control after violence linked to protests spiked over the weekend. He said Trump's warning had motivated what he called terrorists to target protesters and security forces in order to invite foreign intervention. He said internet service would be resumed in coordination with security authorities. Additional reporting by Elweli in Dubai, Rami Ayub Mayan Lubel and Alexander Cornwell in Jerusalem, Steve Holland in Washington. Video verification by Mehezabin, Syed Eleanor Wally and Maureen Del Rue. Writing by Michael Georgi. Editing by Lincoln Feast. Michael Perry, Francis Kerry and Mark Heinrich.